Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Haas, and I got a little bit more SMITE for you. This time we're playing Bakasura, the Great Devourer, Feaster, he who can never have enough, all of that. In SMITE he plays a role of an assassin and melee physical carry, meaning you need to get money. And hopefully we can do just that in this game. Oh, and yes, that is indeed an amazing rabbit skin, the Feaster bunny. Now, similar to the other games, we're starting in the jungle. We're actually getting a normal camp and a speed buff camp here, because Bakasura is pretty good at clearing camps. This is not to get the buff, but really more to get, in theory anyway, a bit of an experienced lead over our enemy. Normally, I would always recommend going left with Bakasura instead of right as we're going now, because you can get the blue buff, the mana buff, and thus you can keep using your second ability without losing a lot of mana, which is just really useful. But you can't always have what you want, so here we are in the right lane. The items we picked is 1 rank of Soul Eater and 1 rank of Warrior Tabi. This gives us a bit of lifesteal, a bit of physical damage, a bit of movement, a bit of health, a bit of all we need essentially. Instead of a Soul Eater, you could also get a Death's Toll, but then you can't get 2 health potions and 1 mana potion, and I just find this working to be better. You need the Soul Eater anyway at one point or another, because it is a really good item in Bakasura, so starting with it this way gives you a bit of lifesteal and still allows you to have enough money to get 2 health potions and a mana potion, which is really good in laning. Our lane partner here is a Bacchus. Bacchus works pretty well with Bakasura because Bacchus is very tanky. He can take a lot of damage, while he can also harass the enemy pretty well, which are 2 things Bakasura is really bad at. So going with a hero like this, or say Sobek, or maybe Aphrodite, who is a really good ranged support that can keep you alive during the lane struggle, are really good champions to go with. Our lane enemy here is a single Anubis, which probably means they have someone hanging around in the jungle. I know for a fact they have an Arachne, which is one of the better gods, if not the best god to actually jungle with, but I wouldn't recommend doing it dedicated on any god right now. Back during the closed beta, I would have actually recommended jungling as Bakasura because they had different jungle layouts. Maybe some of you might remember it, but they used to have jungle patches next to the left and right lanes where you had 3 buffs. I believe the health, damage, and defensive buff. Those are now gone, and Hi-Res has really moved towards a different metagame. They don't want a dedicated jungler, which is very apparent by the fact that you just don't get much out of it anymore, and you can't really gank as effectively as you could during the closed beta. Nowadays, you're much more meant to combine both jungling and laning at the same time. You're meant to quickly go out of laning, get a few jungle buffs, get a bit of experience that way, and more importantly, get a few buffs so you can surprise your enemies during laning with it. So I don't really understand the thought process here of having a dedicated jungling Arachne while their Anubis tries to solo us during laning, which likely won't work out for him, at least I hope it won't. So you may have noticed the first ability I picked up was the second ability. This ability is called Eat Minion, and this is where Bakasura eats a minion. Shocking, I know. Normal creeps can be instantly eaten with this, but every creep with a buff needs to be down to 33% of their health pool. Now you might wonder, why the hell would I eat them? Of course you get the gold for actually eating them, but it also heals you for a bit, which is useful during laning, but it also gives you a protection buff against physical and magical damage, meaning it is definitely worth using this right before or during combat, not just for the little heal. Doing this also means you can store up 6 creeps, which is something we'll get into in a moment. Additionally, eating a creep also activates your passive, which gets activated every time you kill an enemy. This also means creeps. When you do so, you get attack and movement speed. The second ability I picked up is called Take Down. Take Down is a leap, so it is really useful for escaping first of all, and that is why I would always get 1 rank of this as quickly as possible, in this case at level 2. It also does AoE physical damage, and you may have noticed that I harassed with it a few times. This is not something I would recommend though, because it costs a lot of mana, and mana is something you want to be saving up for eating minions. But either way, it does physical damage when you jump on enemies, making it a pretty good finisher as well for enemies that are trying to run away, and it also reduces all the damage they do by 20%. It is, most of all, a great escape and great ganking tool. You are pretty fast, and keep in mind that you can jump over walls, which can really save lives and surprise enemies, so it can also take away lives, I guess. As the third ability, I picked up the third ability. This is called Butcher Blades, and this is where most of your damage will be coming from. Normally, it is a passive that gives you physical power, and thus I would always recommend maxing this out as quickly as possible, because during laning it is just really useful to last hit creeps with first of all, and if a fight does break out, you can simply do more damage. You can also activate this ability, and this is where it becomes pretty amazing. When you activate it, it gives you additional true damage. Now for those that don't know, true damage ignores all physical and all magical protection, so you basically start hitting for tons and tons of damage. This only lasts for a small period of time though, so do time it correctly. The fourth ability of Bakasura is called Regurgitate. Regurgitate is basically where Eat Minion comes into play. Bakasura is literally so sick of keeping all these creeps stored, so he vomits them out on top of your enemies. Lovely. If you aim this correctly and have plenty of creeps stored, again you can have up to 6, you can do some nice minion blocking with this. In addition, this ability also slows your enemies, and most importantly, makes all of Bakasura's basic attacks do damage in a cone. So using this, combined with the third Butcher Blades ability, means a ton of AoE true damage for everyone. Minions themselves also do quite a bit of damage, but they generally are more there to absorb blows and block enemies, so try and get the biggest ones you can with Eat Minion. So here I have gone back and have picked up the Purification Beads. I'm fighting Arachne and Anubis, so Purification Beads are pretty much a must. Now I'm trying to get the speed buff here, and keep in mind that finishing these speed buff creeps off with Eat Minion requires them to be on 33% health, but does give you a nice lovely big creature for your Regurgitate ability. So as I move back towards my lane, I notice Arachne is at the red buff. I jump over the wall with Takedown, hit her with Takedown, activate Butcher's Blades for a lot of damage, block her in with Regurgitate, and pick up my own first kill. Now I've left Bacchus on his own for quite some time, and it seems he is in a bit of trouble as Arachne and Anubis are actually chasing him, and they aren't doing a very bad job at it either. Arachne actually grabs him with her ultimate. I try and get there as quickly as possible, activate Butcher's Blade, activate Regurgitate, hammer in on Anubis, who is falling pretty quickly. There Arachne had actually tower jumped Bacchus, but he survived and I kill her. And now I'm on 3 kills, they are not doing that great and I can easily farm up just a little bit more. Things are looking pretty good. Well, that is on my lane anyway. It seems left isn't doing that well and Sun Wukong is having quite a bad time from the looks of it. I could go back here because I do notice I am pretty low on mana, and without mana I can't really do anything. But I notice their blue buff is up, so I go and get that instead, which also means their Arachne can't get it. Not to mention, all of the enemy gods are in visibility range, so I can do this pretty easily without any danger, as Anubis and Arachne are still dead. A little bit later, Arachne and Anubis should be up by now. We know for a fact they are up, but we're thinking, me and Bacchus that is, that we can probably get their tower, so we go in on their tower, but lo and behold, Arachne and Anubis come in from behind. I try and get away from the tower, after getting a few kills, because I like money. Arachne chases me. I'm thinking I'd probably get her, activate Butcher's Blade. She jumps me with her Eat Facey Drain Life ability. She also hit me with her ultimate. Anubis uses his ultimate. I try and move away from that because it freaking hurts. I jump over the wall. We chase Anubis towards their tower range, but Bacchus is taking way too much damage, so we can't do this. We move out of the way. I get hit by a tower. Arachne jumps me again with her Drain Life ability, and I actually die. Neef snipes Bacchus, and they get the kill on Bacchus as well. This was just dumb. We shouldn't have moved out this well. We should have waited for them to appear before actually attempting to get the tower. Not to mention, we shouldn't have actually tower dived. We could have easily survived by that point. So, after having realized what we did was probably pretty dumb, I'm around in the jungle trying to get a few buffs, and thinking I should probably get the red buff. Ao Kuang even blinks towards the red buff because he can probably hear that something is there, so I go around to investigate. I see an Arachne there. I use Eat Minion to quickly get the red buff and does the damage. I go in on her, activate Butcher's Blade. She actually jumps me, so I move back into Ao Kuang's Tornado, so he actually does more damage, and Ao Kuang gets the kill with the damage over time effect from his Tornado. Keep in mind that when Arachne uses her Drain Life ability on you, she is completely reliant on your movement, so you can easily move back towards your teammates, or in this case, the big scary Tornado from Ao Kuang. In case you haven't figured it out yet, Bakasura is basically reliant on attack speed in order to do the most damage with Butcher's Blade's true damage part. That's why I would recommend, as a third item, to get the Fatalis. This gives you a ton of attack speed, but also gives you way more survivability due to the movement speed buff. It basically gives you standard a lot of movement speed and attack speed, and also reduces the little movement speed reduction from moving backwards, which is just great to have as Bakasura, but it also gives you even more movement speed and even more attack speed if you hit your enemy, because you get little stacks. This is basically exactly what you want as Bakasura, more movement speed and more attack speed. After having killed Anubis, me and Bacchus are thinking we can probably get the middle tower, or at the very least help Ao Kuang fight Neith. Neith is actually being pretty smart and hanging around her tower though, so we would need to tower dive. Neith actually moves in on Ao Kuang, I jump over the wall, can't do much here, but Ao Kuang uses ultimate, sadly misses, I hit her a few times, I activate Regurgitate, I'm taking way too much damage from the tower so I move out of the way, and I finish her off with Regurgitate. Keep in mind that you get a lot more range when using Regurgitate due to the conal attack. Arachne goes after me, I activate Purification Beads because I know she's gonna use her ultimate, she uses her ultimate, I absorb it, and all is well. Purification Beads are of course the active ability where you can avoid all crowd control, so against Arachne's Cocoon ability, which is her ultimate that grabs you and then stuns you, it is really useful because otherwise she would have easily killed me with Cocoon and then drain life. As I mentioned earlier, left lane wasn't doing that stellar this match. I just went back, so I might as well go have a look there because no one else is around. I noticed Poseidon is there with very low health and no mana. He does have the speed buff though, but I don't think he can see me at this point. Though Aphrodite and Sun Wukong are actually moving towards the middle lane, it seems they're getting the red buff. I'm just sitting here, waiting some more. And he finally goes further into his lane, so he should be easy prey unless he has something up his sleeve. I go in, activate Butcher's Blade, hit him twice, he activates Aegis, I hit him a third time, and that is the Fishman dead. Poseidon made the classic mistake of pushing the lane too far with enemies missing. He probably noticed that Aphrodite and Sun Wukong were in no position to actually gank him, but I was, clearly. I was missing, so he really shouldn't have pushed the lane that far, even though Ymir was about to come and assist him, but he came too late. In such a situation, either just don't move out at all, or buy wards so you can see your enemy coming. They were doing pretty well though, so I assume Poseidon and Ymir were pretty confident that nothing bad was going to happen, but here I pretty much had a free kill. So a little bit later, I move towards the middle lane because Ao Kuang is asking for assistance and Neith is looking oh so delicious. I use Regurgitate in order to block Neith and stop her from escaping, and we get a pretty easy kill. I notice Anubis is still in the right lane fighting against Bacchus, and Bacchus is doing a pretty good job at harassing him, so I carefully wait. I notice there's no blue buff, so I might as well wait here. I could at this point jump over the wall. I'm just waiting for me to actually get vision on Anubis. I see him, I jump over the wall, I hit him with takedown, and Bacchus gets a kill on Anubis. At this point, the right tower is looking mighty weak. Neith is dead, Anubis is dead, we might as well try and destroy the right tower. It should only take a second. Our creeps come in and I engage on the tower, Bacchus comes to help. Our allies are actually dying over at the left lane, but there's not much I can do about that right now, so I teleport back in order to complete my Fatalis and pick up my fourth item. As a fourth item, I would recommend getting the Executioner. The Executioner gives you some physical power, which is really good, more attack speed, which is even better, and your basic attacks reduce the enemy's physical protection in the form of stacks once you get the final rank of the Executioner. A little bit earlier I mentioned people were dying at left, and that is something we want to try and avoid. Poseidon and Arachne are actually pushing our left tower, and that is just unacceptable. Arachne actually grabs Sun Wukong and kills him that way. I jump over the wall, try and see if I can chase. I am just barely not fast enough. I try and get a hit in order to get a Fatalis stack. I do get a hit in, I get a Fatalis stack. Poseidon uses Tide Pool, so I can't chase. Poseidon makes it out, but Arachne jumps me with Drain Life, so I walk her towards the Tornado from Ao Kuang, and that actually kills her. Poseidon does make it out, but I guess we at least got Arachne for Sun Wukong dying. A little bit later, me, Aphrodite, and Bacchus are still at the left lane. I am actually pretty low on health because Poseidon used Release the Kraken on me, and Bacchus is in a lot of trouble, so I see if I can at least help him. I use Regurgitate to slow all of them. I try and go in order to maybe get Poseidon. I jump out of Ymir's ultimate. Aphrodite uses her ultimate in order to maybe save me, maybe save her, but that doesn't work. I get caught in the Tide Pool, and I die. The big mistake here was actually trying to help Bacchus when it was clear he wasn't going to survive. He was out of position for too long, so he was dead either way. I really shouldn't have gone in here in an attempt to save him, because clearly it didn't work, and now I'm dead as well. As I'm back alive here, I see Bacchus is fighting Neith in the middle lane. I don't want her to get the mid tower, and I do want to kill her. Poseidon comes in from the side, uses Release the Kraken on Bacchus, I use Regurgitate, activate Butcher's Blade, do tons of AoE damage, I finish off Neith, I finish off Poseidon. That is 2 kills, Bacchus survived, we still have our tower, that is a pretty good day. Here we're over 24 minutes into the game and we're killing the Fire Giant, something we could have done way earlier. In fact, Bakasura can easily do this on his own. The enemy Poseidon comes in, and the enemy Poseidon actually uses Release the Kraken. I use Regurgitate not so much for the creeps, but more for the damage. The AoE conal range actually picks up Anubis. I use Takedown to, well, take down Arachne, and only Neith and Poseidon are in our vision. Poseidon is pretty low, so I consider chasing him, but he uses Tidal Pool and he has the speed buff, so I can't quite catch up. Bacchus jumps after him, but he too can't quite catch up. We are very confident at this point though. We have the Fire Giant buff, we have killed Arachne, we have killed Anubis, only Wukong has died for our troubles. Neith misses the Immobilize, Bacchus jumps after, I jump after with Takedown. We take down Neith pretty easily. There's not a whole lot they can do at this point. Umir does freeze me with his Frost Breath, but it doesn't really matter, we get Neith anyway. Now a little bit later, we are inside their base. We have killed the middle Phoenix, we have killed the right Phoenix, their last lines of defense are really crumbling at this point. I have actually just killed Neith inside of their base. We only have the left tower standing and the left Phoenix standing, so we're going to get their left tower, but Umir is being pretty confident and actually is slowly walking towards me and Aphrodite. Aphrodite stuns him, I go in on Umir, I actually activate Butcher's Blades. He puts up his Frost Wall, but I am feeling very confident. I jump over it, didn't notice that so many enemies were going to get me. Poseidon uses Release the Kraken, Anubis uses his ultimate, they can't actually quite kill me. I am still alive, Arachne actually falls to Bacchus. It is not looking good for them. None of us have actually died. I managed to survive and Aphrodite has healed me up a little bit, so we're going in on their left tower. Bacchus is tanking the damage, he can easily do that at this point. They really have no means of surviving or winning at all, and they surrender. Bakasura is not a god I play much. I used to during the closed beta, but haven't done so in a long time. Then I of course saw the Feaster bunny skin and I had no choice but to give him another shot. Turns out he still packs quite the punch. A fast, very fast punch. My name's Haas, thank you for watching this SMITE video. I'm trying to get them around 15 minutes if I can and edit them in such a way that all the important bits are still there. And I'll see you guys on the next SMITE video.
Ha 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 ha!